The Hill's editor-in-chief, Bob Cusack, on all of this and whether we could be looking at some delay in all of this. What do you think, Bob?
I do think it's getting a little bit late in the game. Obviously, health care did not succeed, and there have been mixed reports, and depends on who you talk to. Right. Yeah, they're going to continue to try to do a repeal and replace Obamacare. So, I mean, this is very important. Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, has said we should get this wrapped up by the August recess, or maybe sometime in September. So this is, as you know, Neil, it's a heavy lift. It's a different era than 1986 when they passed it last time. This is going to have to be Republicans uniting, and we haven't seen a lot of that recently.
All right, they're already bickering, and that is, I guess, even within the White House, Bob, over whether they are keen on a border tax. We're told they're not. Not really keen on a value-added tax. So some of the traditional means by which you would pay for tax cuts, that is, if you and the Republicans in general want to pay for them, they're not there. Right. So what's surprising at this stage, and this is not to poke at anyone, either the White House or the Senate or the House or Kevin Brady at House Ways and Means or Speaker Ryan, but they're far from on the same page on this, and yet they're all coupled with getting this health care thing right the second go-round, and they're kind of like planes backing up at LaGuardia.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and if you look at the border adjustment tax, which obviously is something that Kevin Brady as well as Paul Ryan are pushing very heavily, and it's not popular in the Senate, and Lindsey Graham said that tax plan would only get 10 votes in the Senate. So, but the question that Ryan has is, okay, well, if you're not going to have that revenue raiser, not that tax on imports, what else you got? Because otherwise we can't cut rates as much as we want. So there's going to have to be some give and take. And there's a question, too. Will the tax cuts be permanent, or will they just be over 10 years?
All right, when Bush Jr. had them, because of budget reconciliation, the parameters of that, you know this stuff better than I. It was a 10-year, all right? They couldn't make it permanent, right?
Yeah, and they want to make as much stuff permanent with these tax cuts, but they have a long way to go, and they can't rush it like they did health care. That did not work out. It has to be where the members know what's going on. They're given paper well before there are leaks of what is actually the plan.
How united are they on this other? You talked about paying for them, but there's a camp within that. Some of the conservatives, oddly enough, who normally had been worried about deficits and debt, who said would throw caution to the wind to get big tax cuts through, and the idea being that while they might lead to worse deficits in the near term, the explosion of revenues coming in, you've heard the drill, the dynamic accounting, they'll be worth their while, and we can go ahead and look the other way on these deficits. How prevailing is that view?
I think that they're mostly united on that. Republicans used to say tax reform had to be deficit neutral. Now they are not because of what you just said and that rationale. So I think they're mostly, but when you have Democrats who are not going to help in this endeavor, and Mitch McConnell is not expecting Democrats to help, you are going to really can only lose a few. You can only lose a couple in the Senate and maybe a couple dozen in the House.
You know, Bob, obviously you had Neil Gorsuch sworn in today. He's going to be that night justice, first time since Antonin Scalia. It's been 14 months since his death. What kind of a judge do you think he'll, Bob? He was sworn in by his old mentor, Anthony Kennedy, who emerged as sort of a lightning rod, so-called conservative who took moderate stances, wasn't what he was thought to be. And I guess a key early test is going to be this Trinity Lutheran Church case in Missouri that had filed for but was denied state funds to pay for renovating a playground, I guess. And that will be a crucial litmus test for Justice Gorsuch. What do you think?
I think he's going to basically fill the shoes of Scalia. Everybody, even before Scalia died, was comparing Gorsuch to Scalia. Now, but the big question is, you don't know. You don't know until they get on the bench. You have these major cases, religious liberty case. You mentioned another pensions case that's on the docket. So we're going to get a real indication. But I think he's going to be with Alito and Thomas a lot. But I also think he has an independent streak that you'll see. You're not going to be able to just put him into a shoebox and say, this, I know how he's going to rule on certain cases.
You know, the president has already indicated now he thinks he might be in a position to, given the age of so many of these Supreme Court justices, to pick up to 4 more justices. That would rival the likes of George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, going to Dwight Eisenhower and others who will pick, court majorities. Do you think that's realistic?
Well, 4 is a lot, and certainly these fights are going to get more intense. You know, Scalia was not a controversial nominee, which is amazing to think of, and Gorsuch, I think, did very well before Congress, but you still had the nuclear option that was triggered. So I think that, without a doubt, both Hillary Clinton and President Trump campaigned on, you need to pick me because of the court. There are going to probably be, I think, probably a couple other openings over the next couple of years, whether that's 4 or 8 years. But this is all about legacy, and this is where Trump has got to take advantage. He has momentum because he got Gorsuch. What is he going to do with that momentum?
Yeah, and some of these justices are Anthony Kennedy, 83, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, 86. If you're Ruth Bader Ginsburg, though, you don't want to leave if you don't have to and have Donald Trump make your replacement, right?
That's exactly right. And if you think Gorsuch was a tough fight, if there's a liberal judge that's being replaced, that is going to be tougher. But now the nuclear option,
a simple majority.
A simple majority, exactly.
All right, Bob, thank you very, very much. The Hill editor-in-chief, Bob Cusack.